this is Katie. In today's video, I'm going to answer a question that I get quite often. If you guys have been watching me for a little while, you know that I have pretty severe anxiety issues, and a lot of you guys have asked me how I travel so much with that anxiety, and so I'm going to talk about that today. And so I have a lot of notes on my phone, like a lot, and I'm going to read some of it and then kind of explain a little bit as well. And so if this is one of the first videos you ever watched of mine, first of all, hi, I'm Katie. Thank you for being here. I live in my car because I love to travel so much, and it doesn't really make sense for me to have an apartment right now because I like to just drive all over America. I'm a little out of breath because I ran up the stairs and I'm very out of shape. So that's why I'm like, so anyway, so I travel a lot, and sometimes I'll stay in a city or a town or a park or whatever for a day, and sometimes I'll stay there for 2 months. It totally depends on what I want to do, and that's how I have chosen to live my life. And I work online and I meet people all over, and this is just, again, how I've chosen to live my life. I know it's not for everyone, but I also know that some people really want to do it and they don't know how, or their anxiety stops them or something like that. And so again, I just want to talk a little bit how my anxiety, my very severe anxiety, and my traveling lifestyle kind of go together, and how they handle each other and all that kind of stuff. And so the first thing that I wrote, which I feel like might surprise some of you, but I'm not entirely sure, is that I don't get anxiety on a road trip or going to a new place. I don't get anxiety with the unknown. I don't need everything to be planned or stable. I actually get more anxious if I know that every day is going to be the exact same for the next 3 months. And so I am someone who thrives through change and with the unknown. I'm someone who really likes that. And I know that that is different than most people with anxiety. I know most people with anxiety like to kind of know everything. They like things planned. Change kind of makes them more anxious. I really understand that, but that's just not me. And so that's, at least for the past 6 years or so, 7 years or so, traveling and change and constantly doing different things and doing new things and meeting new people and going to new places, that's something that I really enjoyed. And so it doesn't make me more anxious doing that. In fact, it makes me less anxious. If I was living in a house and paying rent, and I had a 9-to-5 job that I went to every day, and I just came home and I had that kind of typical life. I think it is typical. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying that that's the life that a lot of people have in America, at least. And if I had that life, which I have had before, I don't like it. And that causes me a little bit more anxiety. I do like some consistency, but I don't need everything to be consistent. And right now I have a few consistent, really good friends. I have my consistent jobs, and that's kind of all I need for me to personally feel a little bit less anxious, if that makes sense. So again, if I was in the same place all the time, it would make me a little bit more anxious than traveling. Traveling is something that I like to do, and so it makes me less anxious. Not all the time, and so that's part of number 2, is not all the time, but just if we're talking about situationally, I'm not someone who needs every single thing planned out to lessen my anxiety. But so number 2 is that I have generalized anxiety. I have 2 different mental disorders. My mental health has not been the best. One was caused by a trauma, and one I was just kind of born with. It's like a chemical imbalance. I've never spoken on my channel about what they are. I might one day, but I haven't yet. But regardless, they both come with very severe anxiety. But that anxiety doesn't always have to do with my surroundings or my triggers or what's going on in my day-to-day life. A lot of it is just I wake up and I want to cry, and nothing happened, nothing changed, nothing necessarily triggered it. It's just that my brain doesn't like me very much, and so sometimes I'll wake up wanting to cry, or sometimes just out of nowhere I'll have an anxiety attack. That is my life. I've been dealing with it for a long time. So yeah, so I do have just generalized anxiety, and that generally means that you get anxious even without a trigger. However, I also have a lot of triggers, just like I know everyone else does. So what else did I write on here? I have generalized anxiety, meaning that I'm just kind of anxious all the time without triggers, but I also have triggers too. The important part, traveling or not, is to know your triggers and stay as far away from them as possible. My triggers are actually worse when I'm not traveling, so that's why it's easy for me to be on the road. And I know that it's the opposite for a lot of people, and that's okay too. I never want to say that what I'm doing is right and you guys should do it. We are completely different people. Our brains are different, our lifestyles are different, what we enjoy, what we dislike, it's all different. I'm just kind of telling you what I do and what works for me. I get triggered by certain things, and so if possible, I stay away from them. and I lessen them. So if you have a really, really big lofty goal, but taking some of the steps to reach that goal are things that trigger you, you just have to think about your priorities. You just really have to think about, okay, do I firmly believe that I can make it through these things? Because if you don't believe that you can, you probably can't. It's that whole whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. If you don't believe you can do something, you probably won't be able to. Even if you're capable of it, your brain will kind of stop you. And so, am I getting off on a tangent? Maybe. But all I was just saying is that certain triggers it's okay to stay away from. But if we're talking about traveling, if traveling was one of your goals, but being by yourself triggers you a lot, maybe think about traveling with someone else. Or go on a road trip by yourself for a few hours and see if you can handle that. Take the little steps to see. Don't just jump into something you know is gonna trigger you, because that's just not healthy and it probably won't work. But the little steps could work. And so again, it's all different, we're all so different. And so just kind of see what works for you. But I firmly believe, and I talk about this a little bit later, firmly believe in pushing a little bit outside of your comfort zone and just seeing what happens. And if it doesn't work, then at least you know now, you know, you're not just assuming. I think all of that was a tangent, but anyway, number 3, because I have them in like a little list, is it's also important to know what calms you down and have that readily available. So if you get anxious because of your brain or because you get triggered, it's important to know how you can handle it. And honestly, sometimes you can't, and sometimes you just have to wait for it to go away and all you can do is sleep. And I totally get that, I'm the same way. But if you have any coping mechanisms, maybe learn them before you want to go traveling, because when you're on the road, just like when you're at home, there are going to be certain things that trigger you that are out of your control. And so if you have something like, if you have like a rabbit's foot or a fake rabbit's foot that you rub and that helps you, or if you have candy that helps you, or if you have like, I have these like crying drops in the car that might just be psychosomatic, but I don't even care. They're just little like herbal like stress relieving drops. If that helps you, or if calling one of your friends helps you, just know and have them readily available what will calm you down, because especially being on the road, you don't control as much as you do when you're at home. And so have your coping mechanisms. Yeah, I say whether it's walking around Target, calling a friend, eating a cupcake, drawing or reading or taking a nap, change of scenery, that helps too. So like if you're in your car and you're starting to have an anxiety attack, leave your car and see if that might help. And I know that that sounds so easy, and I know that it's not, but do the best you can to get out of the car, even if it's just stepping out of your car to outside. That might help. Especially being on the road, obviously at any point in time, no matter where you are, if you're on the road, if you're staying in one place, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your anxiety. You need to take care of your mental health. It's really, really important. And sometimes you can't. There's a lot of things we can't control with our brains, but the things that we can, I think it's important to take care of those. So the next thing, number 4, is also, if you truly do want to travel, there are tons of different ways to do it. And so thinking about how to travel. The way that I travel is not going to be ideal for everyone else. I, again, don't plan very much because I don't need to. That doesn't make me feel better. It actually makes me feel worse. If I know that I have to be somewhere like every other day, if I have like a really strict plan, I don't do well. That's kind of not my personality at all. But I know a lot of people prefer to have that. And so, again, let's see, there are tons of different ways to travel. I don't like to plan. I like to be spontaneous with my travel. Sometimes I do plan, but it's really only like campgrounds that you have to book in advance. That's kind of the only thing that I'll really plan. So I like to be spontaneous. I like to meet new people and try new restaurants and go to national parks and go camping and go to every single TJ Maxx that I can find. Almost true. If you like to plan, do that. You can pretty easily, if in your head you're like, okay, I want to go travel for 2 weeks and I want to hit 10 states, you can just go online, start doing research, look at a map and start kind of mapping out where you want to go. Think about where you might want to stay. If you want to go camping or restaurants you want to try, you can plan all that out. I don't necessarily like to, but if you do, and if that will calm your anxiety a little bit, absolutely do it, and it's totally possible. There's so many different ways to travel. Or you can do it in the middle where you plan a few things, but the rest of it you don't plan, just kind of see what happens. So yeah, if you like to plan, do that. If you like to cook food, you can get a camping stove and a cooler. If you like to be alone, that's kind of easy. If you want a pet, you can figure that out too. Don't think about it in terms of, I want to live in my car for a year and try to figure that out, because that's too overwhelming. Break it down into steps like I just mentioned. So if you like to plan, start researching, but start researching small. Don't try to do it all in one day. Don't try to research all 48 states in 2 hours and every single restaurant you want to go to. It's going to be too overwhelming, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself because that will cause you anxiety, and so you don't want to do that. And so yeah, so start researching if you want, and if you're more spontaneous, and just grab some snacks and a jug of water and leave. maybe some underwear too, and like some shoes, and you're good. And so again, there are just so many different ways to travel that you know yourself, and you definitely know yourself much better than I do. And so again, if being spontaneous helps calm your anxiety, awesome. If planning helps calm your anxiety, awesome. If being around people calms your anxiety, then figure out things that you can do that are around people, or see if you can bring a friend with you, or see if you can bring your cat with you, and just kind of make sure that you might have a bigger vehicle, slash that you're ready to take stops all the time, because your cat probably hates being inside of a car. There are things that you can do, and again, I'm not you, so I don't know, but for me, I like being a little bit spontaneous, but also sometimes I like staying in one place for 2 hours and I'm done. But I've been in LA for like 5 weeks and I love being here, and I'm not anxious at all staying for as long as I've stayed. I might be here for another week or two, I might leave, I might come back. I prefer that for me, and especially the way that I do it, certain things do cause me anxiety. And so if I plan and I end up going somewhere and it causes me anxiety and I'm like, oh crap, I have to be here for another 2 days, I don't like to do that. And so if I go somewhere and I realize that the situation or just something about where I am is causing me anxiety, I can leave. And I know some people don't like that. I know some people might say, well, you got to stick it out and see. I'm 31, and this is the choice that I've made in my life. If I don't like a situation, if I do not feel safe, or if I feel uncomfortable, or if I just am not enjoying it, then I'm gonna go. And not all the time, certain times I will stay a little bit longer to see if I can like it, but most of the time if I really don't wanna be there, I can leave. And so that's another reason why I don't like to plan, because I'd rather be in some place that I enjoy, you know? Like I don't need to be in any of the places that I go, I just want to go. And so if I'm not enjoying it, why would I stay? Unless I have a reason. So anyway, the last thing that I wrote down, let's see, hold on, okay, is I think going out of your comfort zone is mega important. I really do. But I also think it's important to take care of yourself and your mental health. So push yourself, live the life you want, but be open to the fact that you might not actually want it anymore once you do it. You might realize that it's not for you. It's okay if you don't like it. It's okay if you want to stop. And so I personally think it's incredibly important to get out of your comfort zone. It might trigger your anxiety. It might, but it might not. And I understand that your anxiety might be so bad that you're like, I never want to trigger it. I don't want to go out of my comfort zone. And you know what? Honestly, that's okay. You might change your mind in a few months. You might be ready to do it. I think you need to be ready sometimes. But I also kind of firmly believe that no one's ever ready. But in terms of having severe anxiety, you might not be able to get out of bed that day, and I do understand that. And so I think there's just always exceptions to rules. And so while I do think that getting out of your comfort zone, making really big goals is really important, it might not be for you right this second. But I do think that it's important to at least think about it. Maybe your big lofty goal is to get out of bed that day, and when you do it, that's awesome, and then you can take other steps. And so I know that a lot of things that I talk about motivational wise are different depending on the severity of your mental health. I get that. And so again, I know there are exceptions to everything that I say, but I do think it's important to push yourself a little bit. I really do, because you'll never know what you're capable of unless you do it. And so what else do I have here? Yeah, so also one of the other things that I want to say, and then I'm going to close this video, is that you might have an idea in your head that you really want to travel. Or you might see my life or other YouTubers that you watch or Instagram pages that you watch and you're like, oh my gosh, their life seems so cool, or their life seems exactly what I've always wanted. And you might go do it and you might not like it. And I don't mean it might scare you, because I think being scared is okay in certain things, because change is scary for a lot of people and doing new things is scary for a lot of people. That's not what I mean. I mean, you might just be like, you know what? I don't enjoy this at all. You really might just not enjoy it. And that's okay. And I really like the idea of being open to things. And again, that's why I am pretty spontaneous with my travel. I like being open, because I might go somewhere and I might love it so much that I want to stay, you know? That's kind of what it was with like Minneapolis last year. I drove through once and I was there for like a day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really like this place. And I left for a few months and I went back because I wanted to go to this restaurant. And so I thought I was going to stay for another day or two. And then I ended up staying for 3 weeks because I loved it so much. But if I planned my life more, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And again, that's just me. That's just me. Some other people love to plan and that makes them feel less anxious. And so again, I think it's important to stay open, and you can stay open and plan at the same time. You absolutely can. But I think it's important to stay open to the fact that you might not like something that you do. You might have a goal, and once you reach it, you might be like, oh wait, I don't like this. And that's up to you whether you want to keep going to see if you'll like it, whether you're like, nah, I don't like this, I'm good. I've done it and I've experienced it and I realized I didn't like it. Now I can go on to the next thing. It's kind of up to you what you do with that, but I think it's important to be open to that. I kind of have a feeling that certain people lie about things that they enjoy because it might sound cool. I think that we all kind of get almost tricked into that or trapped into that a little bit. I really hope that we kind of can grow to be self-aware enough that that is not the case. That we're okay saying, you know what, I don't like this. I don't want to do it anymore. Or I love this. And even though it's weird, or even though other people make fun of me for it, or whatever it is, I'm going to keep doing it. And so, yeah, again, I just think it's open to accept the fact that you might have a goal, and you might have a goal for 10 years that you really, really want to do something, and you go and do it, and you might not like it. And that's okay. And it's not good or bad. It's not, you don't need to be disappointed in yourself. You don't need to think that you're doing it wrong. But maybe, honestly, maybe you are. Maybe you really, really want to plan a road trip and then you don't like it. Maybe do a spontaneous one and see if you like that better. There's so many options, and everyone is so different. Everyone likes and dislikes so many different things. And so I think one of the coolest things about life is that we can just keep going. We can just keep doing new things. And honestly, if you don't like it, you can stop. And if you love it, you can keep going. And again, it's different for everyone, but I think that's just kind of like the gist of that. And so kind of the takeaway of all of this is how I travel with anxiety. Traveling generally, not always, but generally makes my anxiety a little bit less than it does when I stay in one place for too long that I don't like. Again, I've been in LA for 5 weeks and I love it here, so I don't have anxiety about staying here. It's different for everyone. And so being on the road, sleeping in my car doesn't make me anxious at all. It does not make me anxious at all. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me feel unsafe. Nothing like that. Sleeping in my car really makes me actually feel safe, and I really, really like it. And I just know that it's different for everyone, but that's just it for me. And so, and I also know, again, it could change. Tomorrow, I might decide to sign a lease in LA. Who knows? I have no idea. But again, I think it's important for me to be open to all of that stuff. And that's how I live my life, and that's how I want to live my life, and I'm okay with that. I know it's different for everyone else, but that's just how it is for me. And so I think that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Any other mental health questions or ideas that you have, let me know in the comments, and like this video if you do want to see more mental health videos in the future. And also make sure that you subscribe to my channel and click that little notification bell so you get notified every time I make a video. And as of right now, I'm almost at 60,000 subscribers. That's like, it boggles my mind how much my channel's grown. I'm so excited about it. And so maybe we can hit 60,000 today, maybe. So go hit that button. And that's gonna be it. I love you, Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Sweet, sweet songs. As you realize that I've been